I found one thing new that the way he motivate me to like optimize the things, but you can optimize that particular thing. You have idea, but like try to implement it and give time to implement that particular idea. अगर ये इंटरव्यू रोज हुआ तो लाइक आराम से कोई भी इंटरव्यू क्रैक कर सकता है अगर मेनली वी नो द थिंग्स बट द थिंग इज दैट कि वी कांट कन्वे.
Good evening. Let me first introduce myself and then you can go ahead about your introduction and we can carry on. So Zeba, myself Shubham, I graduated from IIT Roorkee. I like IIT Roorkee 2018 batch, and then I worked with OYO as a software developer for 2 years, and that's where I was primarily working on the front end side itself, on the React as a React developer. Then I moved to an early stage startup just to get a glimpse of how things works at a very scratch and very basic level. Post then, my latest experience that I hold is of an MNC, ServiceNow, and throughout again, it has been the front end developer only. And I think you have also requested for the front end developer only. So yeah, that's a very small intro about myself. Would you like to go ahead for your?
So myself Zeba Heather, and I'm in my final year BTech pursuing BTech from CSE.
Okay.
And my domain is front end development. And I also had experience in the same domain. I had done uh, like one internship, and I'm currently doing second one. And like I do my front end development in WordPress and with the help of basic HTML and CSS too. And I also improving my JavaScript to make my site more dynamic and more informative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we discuss about one of your major project, something which you find is more something where you have invested more of your time, or something which is more technically complex, or which you are proud of a bit, we can say?
Should I mention a link or the name of project?
Like first you can tell about the project altogether.
So I had made one project for e-commerce site with the help of WooCommerce.
Okay.
And I used like many plugins for the same, and customization in the same basic HTML CSS. And
Okay.
like yeah, so I can also share that link to show you. May I?
Okay. So where on a maybe on a scale of 1 to 5, where do you see yourself on the especially JavaScript?
Honestly, I didn't work on JavaScript. I majorly worked on HTML, CSS.
Okay. Okay. If I ask you that I have to place the CSS and JS code, JS let's say file. There is a CSS file name, let's say app.css, and there is a JS file which is called app.js. So can you first of all write the syntax for both to load these both files? Yeah, can you first write and then we can have the follow-up question? By the way, let's say you mentioned that, okay, JavaScript, and here you mentioned JS.
Okay.
So my question is that if this is the format, like let's suppose, by the way, this is not the format, but let's take into consideration that, okay, these are the two statements that you have to place. Now my question is that where in the whole system are you going to place it?
No. Okay. Between head tag.
Can you just copy paste that part?
I can put
Okay.
between head tag and after that title 2.
First of all, there are two parts here. Like I'll just give a quick feedback here. That as a front-end developer, you so means think of it like when you will be working in a corporate, you will not working on the WordPress.
Okay.
Okay, it's a something that is a very quick plug-in and play thing. Okay,
Yeah.
but when you're working with a complex projects, obviously WordPress is not a thing which most people follow. So you are given an array with numbers. For example, it is a natural array, nothing sorted, no negative absence, everything will be present. Okay, all
Okay.
obviously the positive integers will be present. So okay, so now we have to basically, so far you must have understood that we have to find the first missing positive integer. Now we will first understand the approach, like how do you think that we can solve this problem, and then we will go ahead with the coding. Okay.
First of all, we take a loop and traversing that loop. While traversing that loop, I'll check my index value to that
Okay.
particular loop. Like if we are taking loop from 1 to 10.
Okay.
So
What will be
question.
the time complexity of this solution?
Okay. So time complexity of the solution is it. The time complexity increases when input increases.
So better one quick feedback here again I'm saying is whenever you are telling any approach, maybe write something sample. Everything what you are saying might not get to the interviewer. Okay. Okay. Anyways, leave it. It's something that you have any particular question about this whole process and anything, any question that you have?
Why we are mainly focusing on the like complexity. First we have to focus on the approach, so like we can improve by like after on like making more customization to that particular code. But in the first case you're saying like write the less time complexity, like the code which take less time. So like
Mhm.
our first preference should be like write a code, at least have a like logic. So is this like in every interview we have question like this,
Okay,
Nikki?
so I'll tell you like what is the general flow and what is the reason even behind the general flow. So whenever an interviewer asks you questions, the first thing definitely they want is you have some solution. Okay, so here we can see that you have an n square solution.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I think even you took that time complexity wrong. You thought that n square is an n. So we had that discussion
Yeah.
that okay, it's not an n square. It's
Yes.
not an n. It's an n square.
Yes.
Next is something that n square is very brute force approach. We know that it's somebody who is in the first semester is learning coding. They can also code it. This is not a standard of the fourth year student. You agree on that part? A
Yes.
completely brute force approach. Now since you are in the placement, the next thing after the interviewer gets an idea that okay, she can solve the problem, and this is not a very tough problem where you have to do a lot of brainstorming. If you go with the brute force approach, you can see that okay, I picked a number, I traverse, I picked another number, I traverse. It's a straightforward way. If I talk about a modified binary search tree, then I could say that okay, how she is able to think, that is my first priority. But in this case, I don't think that brute force approach is that tough. We agree, right? That's where if the interviewer thinks, or in the interview if the situation comes that if the brute force approach is really not that great evaluation, then the next thing that they want to see is like how you're going to optimize it. So anyways, it's not I would say bad or so on. At some places you did really very well, especially when it comes to some of the front end concepts and so on. We will share the detailed feedback. It will cover all the segments where you were good, where you were not good, and so on.